1822 North Worcester Avenue. This is the 17th of October, 1992. It's the Mel and Louise Cook house. It's a nice, colorful October morning. I'm going to take a walk today. Look at a few historical sites. This is North Worcester Avenue. In the early part of this century, there was a trolley car that ran up the center of this street from Dover to Strasbourg, which is about 5 miles up the road that way. We're going to take a walk by where John Hostettler lived, where he and his family lived. And then after his family had moved away, they built a house out on North Worcester Avenue. So we're going to walk on down south on Worcester Avenue. Shot of the Mel and Louise Cook house, shooting from the north, or shooting north from the south. We're going to walk down south about 3 blocks before we get to the first site. A block from 11th Street, which was in the early 1900s called Plano Street. You see right kind of in the center of the shot is a pale yellow house surrounded by trees. That house was built by John Hostettler after his family had mostly grown and moved away. And they moved into that house approximately in 1922. There probably wouldn't be too many of the other houses along here, other than maybe this white one on the corner. As you can see, the trees around our house are pretty colorful this year. Had a lot of rain this year, so when the green goes out of the leaves, they turn pretty colorful. The house looks pretty much as it did back then. There was a garage out back, which is styled similar to the house. So I am assuming that the house will be built a garage as well. The street now is called 11th Street. Back then it was called Plano. And this town used to be called Canal instead of just Dover. This is the street, 11th or Plano, that John and his family lived on, and they lived back down this street. The last house on the right, second to the last house on the right. At that time there was a nice front porch on the house. You may have seen that front porch in the wedding photograph of their daughter to our grandfather. This is the side of their house. Again, built about approximately 1922. After the family had mostly moved away, gotten married and so forth. Dad said he had been here once or twice in his early youth, probably from 5 to maybe 9 or 10. Street, Plano Street, and we're just walking down the street to the house that John Hostettler lived in, and where the picture of Verna Marie and Emery Cook had their wedding photograph taken. It's the White House right there, kind of in the center. It has green shutters on it now. It has apparently new vinyl siding on it. I changed the porch quite a bit and put a new door on. The last time I was by here, they hadn't made all of those changes. But the shape of the house, except for the front porch, are basically the same as it was back then. This tree may have even been there at that time, only as a small sapling. And the garage was there at that time. It's still got the original siding on it, and probably is very similar to the way it looked back then. Dad remembers this house, had remembered this house right here, and a couple other houses around the neighborhood. When they were here one time, we went up and talked to the people that owned this house at that time, and even asked them about their deed, whether or not they recall that John Hostettler was on the abstract. We're going to walk back out to Worcester Avenue and go down Worcester Avenue and pick up a few more sites. Some of the things that I have heard from talking to family members who knew, older family members that I ran into at the reunion last summer, a year ago in June, was that this indeed was the house, the small house that they built in about 1922, or had built. And he told me a little bit about what John did for a living. They said he worked in a factory, and that every day that when he left, he would go catch the trolley and go to work. And he'd pack a lunch bucket, and that evening he would return on the same trolley. John and his wife did not live very long in this house. Unfortunately, she passed away before he did, and he passed away a couple of years after she did. So now we're going to take a walk on down Worcester Avenue. It's quite likely that some of these houses were there at that time. This end of town was probably a little more affluent than other parts of town. Have no knowledge of what kind of wealth John Hostettler had, or what kind of a job he had, what kind of money he made. But he did live in a nicer neighborhood. That house was probably there, and the house next door. Some of the houses across the street probably were in front of the house, front porch. Again, this house has been vinyl sided since within the past few years. The new aluminum eaves and downspouts put on it. Looking down North Worcester Avenue going to the side. Right here was where the trolley car station used to be. There used to be a turnaround for the trolley cars right here before they tore it all down and made this kind of little shopping plaza in here. Now, this is only a block away from where John lived, down on the corner. And that's looking south on Worcester Avenue. I'm coming up to Schlinglath Street. I'm not really sure if that was the name of the street back then, but it probably was, because it wasn't, as I recall some of the maps, the name of this street was That house on the corner there is a prairie-style house. There are a few similar houses around the Dover and Trolley area to that house, and that was the style of house that Frank Lloyd Wright designed. That was not one of his houses, but it was one of the types of houses that he built in the early 1900s and the late 1800s. That house was probably built in the early 1900s, so it was probably here when Don and Verna were living here. Verna being John's daughter, my grandmother, or Therian E. Cook's mother. Again, continuing to look on down south. What we're doing is heading down towards the downtown area. So it would be about 9 to 10 blocks from John's house. So if we were to walk down there on Saturday, it probably would have taken about 10 minutes. Continuing to walk on south, there's a couple of interesting houses here on the corner that were probably built in the late 1800s. I couldn't fix a date on them, but they are of the Victorian period. And that was a period of architecture from about 1860 to about in the early 1900s. Around 1910 to 1920 when it really started figuring out. Styles becoming a little bit more modern. These houses were built similar. They both have the onion dome on them that was somewhat typical of the Victorian period. There was a Russian influence. See the onion dome on this house coming up here. These houses are owned by the same person now. They live in this house right here. They have a lot of beautiful flowers out here in the summertime. They're starting to freeze out now. It's kind of awesome to think that I'm walking in the same footsteps as my grandfather and grandmother, and even my grandfather when he would come here on visits. Looking back up north. It had two domes on them. One was a porch. It was later turned into a rest home. It was kind of in sad shape for quite a long while until the people that live over here bought the house and did some work on it and fixed it up. Got apartments in it. Looking on down south, most of these houses were probably early 1900 vintage. 7th Street. This is a very, very old house too, from the late 1800s. It's got a plaque on the house, meaning it's a historical house. You can see the telephone or the light post out front has the Sunoco colors. There used to be a small Sunoco station here in their front yard, and one of the occupants about 8 or 9 years ago bought the home and had the gas station removed and fixed it up quite well. Right next door is another historic house. It has a plaque on it as well. They just this summer got through finishing repainting it in period colors, probably not of what it looked like back then, but it was most likely a very colorful house in its time. This house was once owned by Judge O'Farrell, who was a local judge of some national prominence because of how he has dealt with drunk drivers. He had that fence put in, and one time a kind of distraught person who has apparently been through his court ran down the front part of it and broke it and scattered the pieces all over the neighborhood. Then looking south. This is a house that is currently occupied by a doctor, Dr. Dacio. Once the office for a doctor that Louise and her family used to go to. His name was Dr. Bennett. Again, looking south. Again, most of these houses were early 1900 vintage or late 1800 vintage. The house where one of the owners of Marite lives. This summer had his front yard landscaped. Got a couple of trees. The house next door to him. And moving on down south. All of these houses were early 1900 vintage or late 1800 vintage. And looking across the street, a red house that's of the Victorian period. Quite ornate. It's a brick house there. Down this way are becoming offices for lawyers and doctors and optometrists and insurance people and so forth. Also on down the way is a funeral home. Again, this street is the street that John and his family would travel all the time. Of course, it'd be the street that he would travel all the time going to work. Church down there that was of the period. This home right here is a funeral home now. It was a very large home, and at the time that the funeral home people took it, it was in pretty bad shape. It needed an awful lot of work. They cleaned the yard up and cleaned the house up, and had it sandblasted and painted the trim and so forth, and fixed the roof. So it looks pretty nice now. The church was probably not there. It's by the style, it looks more like a 30s or 1940s building. And the building next to it is it's called Memorial Hall. It's a building that has a large room in it, a large gymnasium in it that they used to play basketball in. And this is the, I can't remember the name of the church, but it was here, has been here for a long, long time. The addition, of course, was put on later. I've gotten out here and done this a few weeks ago. That building right in the center, it's kind of brown with blue front down below, was quite unusual. It had a portico built out over the sidewalk with the doorway leading from the upper window out onto it. And it has been a number of things. It's been a barber shop most of the time, but now it's going to be turned into a doctor's office. So we've had it remodeled, and they put that roof down below on it. Of course, there's the Memorial Hall and the United Methodist Church. The street is called St. John's United Church of Christ. Current minister is Richard Coyle and Eric Walsh. One of our neighbors' daughters got married here. Actually, I think all of their children have gotten married here, but we've only been here once. Well, I guess I must take back something I said about this building. It was erected, it's called this, on the cornerstone, it's called St. John's Evangelical Reformed Church, erected AD 1938. So that would be quite maybe 12 or 13 years after John and his family, or his wife, had passed away. This is the house right next to the church. It's in the recent past that I have known of, and served as the caretaker's house for the church. And the church where we go is called Countryside Chapel. The minister there is named Gary Yockey, and his father, when he was growing up, lived in this house, and so did Gary. And he lived there for most of his youth. And his father took care of the church. Next door is a cycle place, downtown. It's a car wash and a bank and another grocery gas station. Mini mall. It's called the Goshen Dairy Mini Mall. Close to the downtown area. Again, looking across the street to the bank, and right next door to the bank is the Salvation Army building. Across the street from that is the city building, or the police station, and the city council meeting. Here's where my battery went dead. This is the Salvation Army building. I had to go home and get another battery. There used to be a steeple on this, it used to be a church. Well, it is a church, but it's Salvation Army building. Across the street is the city building. It also used to have a corner steeple on it years and years ago, long before I was here. It's pretty much looked the same since I've been here, but they have done redecorated or landscaped the square area. About 12 or 13 years ago, they put these oak trees in and mounded up the dirt and put the benches and so forth in. This is a shop looking on down Worcester Avenue. And this is 3rd Street we're coming up to. Kind of panning around. This is the building I showed prior to the battery going dead. It has the ballroom up on the 3rd floor. There's just little shops down below, a coin shop and I guess the barber shop, and there's a place for rent and so forth. Across the street is the Lutheran church. It's where Todd and Rhonda Beal, Todd and Rhonda are going to be married today. Police station. So the Salvation Army building. Panning around towards the city building, and on down the street there's the Moose Hall down there. Again, that's the it's called the Wertz building, W-E-R or W-E-N-T-Z, I guess it's Wentz. It's got a natural food store in the bottom and an oriental food restaurant next door. There's my red truck. Next to that is a computer center, appliance store, a drapery store, The building with the awning used to be the J.C. Penney building. It's quite likely that most of these buildings were not here during the teens and early 20s. Although I'm not for sure, the architecture just does not look like it came from that period. On down the street, of course, there are a few buildings that represent that period in time. Church here, the Evangelical Lutheran Church, was built in 1958. Next door is a doctor's office, and then a little used car lot, and a lawyer's office next door to that. Thing on the corner there, it's called Dover Philly Heating and Cooling. That used to be the theater here in town. It was a single theater. It was not operated a great deal in the time that I was here, or have been here. But I have gone to see one or two movies there. Kind of walking down the street here on 3rd Street in Dover. It's the business district area. Although most of the businesses, or a good many of them, are not thriving as well as they used to. Before there was mini malls and larger malls and so forth. But, in a lot of the pictures, some of the buildings on down the street there, particularly the one that has the balls or nodules on the top of it there. I'll get a little closer view of them. That building has been in a lot of the pictures and photographs that I have seen of the area. Now a lawyer's office, but or law office, but it used to be a drugstore. One of the first drugstores in the area, or larger drugstores, was called Marlowe's. It was run by a lady called Fanny Marlowe. As I recall, she's still living in Dover. Her two sons have a couple of other drugstores in the area. Heading on down the street here, down towards the Reeves Bank, where Louise used to have a drapery store. There used to be a couple of clothing stores here in town, and one of them was called Swartz and the other one was called Klein's, and they merged. This was one or the other of them. I can't remember which. This little building here in town, that's where the Van Epps have their office. It used to be called Dover Office Supply, or Office Supply Store. Now it's called Dover Office Supply. That building right there is where Louise used to have her drapery store. She was in the far right portion of it. Next door is the post office. It used to be a Woolworth store when I first moved to town. That building was probably of the early 1900s vintage, because of the type of architecture that it is. Some of these stores have had new fronts put on. Again, that's the store, the buildings that I have seen in photographs before. The downtown area was sidewalks and all this landscaping was done in the late 1970s while Louise still had her store here. Right now it's called the Billiard Club, the Velvet Rail. It's not as well kept as it used to be. Next door is a carpet store. Over floor cover. next door to that is the post office. Handing across the street again, pick up some more of the buildings. And the capstone on that building, it has the date about, it looks like 1888, but I'm not for sure. It's called the Linhard building. I think it says 1890. You'll be able to see it a little bit better here on telephoto. Now there's a jewelry store downstairs and a kind of a antique store, Reproductions Unlimited. The YMCA was built in the 30s. This is no longer where the YMCA is. It's now just apartments and lodge hall. The building on the corner was probably here in the 1920s. It's late 1800 version. Used to be a real nice bank on the corner there, where the Bank 1 is now. Similar to a bank in Autumnal Island. It was called Fidelity Savings Bank. It's on the corner of Market and Main Street. It's a white building. And that was what the building that sat there was. Out of where Louise had her store, on the side of the building there's still a sign that you can see kind of faintly. The building used to be furniture and rug and funeral directors. Back in those days, furniture stores doubled as funeral homes, or funeral directors had their businesses there, kind of combined. When there wasn't anybody dying, they could sell furniture. This is the post office. And this is the Reeves Bank. It's no longer called the Reeves Bank. It's called the Huntington Bank. It's the Reeves family lived here and they had a very large home over on Iron Avenue. And he also started a steel business, or steel mill here. He also started this bank. And that's just the alley looking back towards 2nd Street. Panning across to some of the other older buildings here in the area. Some of the buildings, nicer buildings, have been torn down since I've been here. There were several right here on the corner where the parking lot to the bank is. Now this street, I think, led down to the train station, but I'm not real certain. I know it was down here in this general vicinity, though. It's no longer here. Down Tuscarawas Avenue towards the river, Tuscarawas River. And most of these buildings were probably here in the teens, late 1900s, early 1900s. There was a large strip, or several buildings on down beside them, but they were all taken out for a small shopping mall, which is deserted now. The YMCA building, it's another Moose Lodge is there. Of course, some of the rooms upstairs appear to be boarded up. and back up 3rd Street. Huntington Bank, post office, where Louise had her store, the funeral home, and the furniture business. The business was probably in the area when in the early 1900s. It was a custom metal nickel alloy and other kinds of zinc and so forth, kinds of piping and tubing and so forth they made there. It went out of business 5 or 6 years ago. The employer is one of the employees to take some financial reductions in their wages, and they refused to, so they left town. Of course, put all the employees out of work. Down there is where a train station is. I'm not sure that that's what it was used for, but I don't think that was where the location of the Dover train station was. I think it was in the location of the general location of this building here, coming up on the left, where the Bueller's store used to be, grocery store. And behind it is a couple other railroad buildings. But I couldn't be for certain that is where it was in this general vicinity, where the railroad station used to be. This area has just kind of turned into a flea market and a couple of small restaurants and a pharmacy. On across their parking lot is a few older buildings. One of them was called the Dover Hotel, which is that large building right there, kind of in the center, kind of the yellow-orange brick. It was here in the late 1800s and early 1900s. It's been unoccupied for quite a long while. Ever since I've been here. There used to be a lawyer's office downstairs, but since in the past 8 or 9 years, there hasn't been anything in it. There's been some talk of either tearing it down or refurbishing it, but the cost of refurbishing it would be kind of out of sight. Kind of led me to believe that that's why the train station is in this general vicinity. I have seen pictures of the train station, and I do believe that it was in this general area. The hotel being close to it would make sense. You can plot across the parking lot here of the Dover Flea Market, and some of the older buildings there across the street from it. The one right in the center is called the Iron Valley Bank. That's what its original name was. Of course, a lot of the buildings along here have been torn down. Where I'm walking were buildings probably of similar style. And there again is the Dover Hotel. I'm panning on down towards the river, Canal, Dover, this area. That was the original name to this city. And the reason for that was the Ohio Erie Canal went through here. So in its origin, it was called Canal Dover. There are a number of cities along the canal, and some of them have retained their original name. That is Canal whatever, Canal Fulton, Canal whatever. and some of them have even capitalized on the fact that they were along the canal for historic and tourist reasons. North on Tuscarawas, of course, this period in time that all the trees are turning really bright colors. Pick out some of the colors there. This is the waterworks down here. It's close to the river. Panning around the railroad bridge across the river. It was here, has been here for probably close to 100 years. Of course, that's the bridge. It's been here as long as most people can remember. This is where the canal used to be. It's kind of grown up, and there was a divider between the river and the canal, where you can see the tracks, or the truck tracks or whatever, back through there. Where the telephone posts are, or the light posts, electric posts, that's where the canal was. Of course, the different ones have pushed things over the bank here, and to increase their property, I suppose, or whatever. Increase the size of this parking lot. There used to be buildings along here that where they would stop, and there was also locks and places where they would raise and lower the water. At times they did not follow the river, where there wouldn't be a lock. They didn't necessarily follow the river or follow a river. We'll pan back towards town. And of course the river is right beyond those trees. Tuscarawas River, that bridge over there is the Worcester Avenue Bridge. That's been here for, I've seen pictures of it in the late 1800s and the early 1900s. Of course, they've done reconstructive work on it and so forth to bring it up to the standards of today. Of course, the one I'm standing on right now was also of the same period. I'm panning around. There used to be a small or a stamping plant over there where that kind of rounded building used to be. It's a General Electric building now. They make tungsten for light bulbs there now. And then panning across the bridge towards the railroad bridge, and then on down the river. It would be across this bridge, or the bridge on Worcester Avenue, that the John Hostettler family would have to have gone on their way to church, because the First Church of God, where they went to church, is on Tuscarawas Avenue. So they would have had to cross that bridge there, or they would have had to cross the one I'm standing on in order to get to church every Sunday. Because those are the only two bridges around. This is the Fairgrounds. It's been here for way over 100 years. This is the grandstands over there. I'm not sure how old that particular, it's built of iron, so it's probably 19th century or 20th century anyway. Some of the buildings are pretty ancient, but probably built in the 30s and 40s and so forth. There is a four-way barn in the center. I'll pan up to it. That's probably one of the oldest buildings. It's built on the shape of a cross with the cupola thing kind of in the center. And then panning around the rest of the fairgrounds. This is a track that they use for horse races and horse cart races, and they used to use it for stock car, but I don't think they use it for that anymore. We have had, Louise and I have had displays at the fair on 2 or 3 occasions in one of those buildings up in there. At fair time, it's pretty congested in here. In the wintertime, people park their trailers and mobile homes and things like that in here, because in the wintertime there isn't too much going on. That's kind of panning over towards the steel mills. One of them was called Reeves Steel Mill, and there was another one over there. I can't remember what the name of it was. Greer, that was it. And those two families, kind of like royalty, the members of the family married, and they could unite their fortunes. So the Greers and the Reeves at one time were in together. This is Marite. This is where I work. This is the main office building across the fence there. This is a guest house. And then, of course, the guardhouse there. It's my red truck in the foreground here. And I work in a building that's right over there most of the time, where that dust collector is. There's a design office in this end of it here, where the dust collector is. And that's the main gate. And the buildings cover about 6 acres under the roof. I'm going to walk on down towards where the Hostettlers went to church, and where Verna Marie and Emery L. Cook probably went to church a few times while they were in this area. And we'll leave the truck here and walk on down there. I decided not to walk. It takes it's about 4 or 5 blocks from Marite down here, where we're looking down at some of the houses along Tuscarawas Avenue. This is the church. Well, the First Church of God. It's actually in New Philadelphia. When I brought Dad and Mom by here a number of years ago when they were visiting, Dad said he remembered the building. It's pretty much the same shape that it was back then, but the front part of it, but the back part of it has been remodeled quite a bit, and they've taken out a house or two for parking. Some of these addition of parts that were added look like the stone and so forth was added back in the 1950s or 40s. The part that's brick was probably the original part, and the part that's cement block on back in the back was obviously added on later because it did not use cement blocks like that in the early 1900s. So they probably pulled up with their buggies right out front here somewhere and let out the passengers, and then went to find a side street somewhere where they could park for a couple of hours, leave the horse and leave a feed bag on it. Again, there was a couple of houses in the parking lot area when I moved here. This has been added since I've moved to this area. And this is the Walnut Creek Mennonite Church, and it's where John Hostettler and his father and family went to church while the children were growing up. They grew up on a farm not too far from here. John's father was one of the original members of the church that did a lot of the work and so forth on this building. The first part of it was built around 1896, if I can read the date and the slate on the roof correctly. It has worn a little bit, and some of the slate has been replaced over the years, so it's kind of hard to read, but I'm assuming it's 1896. That would have probably been about the time that John Hostettler would have been a teenager. So this front section was built first, and the back section was built later. About a year and a half ago, we had a Hostettler reunion here, and about 300 or 400 relatives and descendants of the line that John Hostettler came from came to the reunion, and we had it over there in the reception hall. Not the part that isn't built yet, but the part that is. I don't know where the people park at while the parking lot is in disarray like it is. And John Hostettler and his family were buried over in the cemetery up on that hill over there. We'll go over there in just a minute and have a look at their stones. And here's the buggy coming that would have been the transportation of the period that John Hostettler and their family went to church. They probably went to church this way in one of these. This is John H. Hostettler's tombstone, as well as his wife Sarah. He was born in 1855 and died in 1924. She was born in 1855 and died in 1922. So this would have been Verna Marie's father and mother. She married Emery Cook, and together they had Therian, Elmo, and Lois. There are a number of other Hostettlers in the Millers and Hostettlers and so forth that are related to him. Standing from behind their tombstone, this is the view of the valley. The that they would have what they would have remembered from their youth, that they would have looked out on probably on occasion. That's Route 39, which in that direction goes into Berlin. In the other direction it goes into Sugar Creek. Or first of all, it would have went into Shanesville at that time. Shanesville has now merged with Sugar Creek because they were so close together. And down over the other side of the hill there is where the church is. The Mennonite church that John grew up in as a child. Noah Hostettler's tombstone. He was a relative of John Hostettler. Not exactly sure what the relationship was, though.